My idea was to build an actual Whataburger inside the hotel. Whataburger got on board and we built an actual Whataburger in under an hour. Got into healthcare because my grandmother was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. One of my favorite things was transforming the hallways of the cancer center for the patients into different themes to try to just make it a little more fun for them to come to something they do not want to be at all. Wait, people told you no? They're saying it's not possible? I was like, let's do it. I see my girls in the background shaking their heads. What is she doing? It was the first time they've ever shut down the library for an event. Probably one of my proudest moments of my career to pull it off. I've literally on a wedding day walked the bride down the aisle, got in my car, went to a dance recital, watched her perform, get back in the car, go back to the wedding. I want my kids to see me being an entrepreneur and working hard and doing those things and see that you don't have to give up the thought of having a family in order to be whatever your dream may be. Both are possible. And so I think I'm a better mom because I do work.
Behind every beautiful wedding is a story worth preserving. Hi, I'm your host, Andrea, founder of the nation's premier bouquet preservation studio. Through building that company, I've had a front row seat to thousands of weddings and the incredible professionals behind them. On Bridal Club, I bring you conversations with the experts shaping today's weddings. It's for couples planning their perfect day and the pros who make it happen. Welcome to the club, to Bridal Club.
Welcome to another episode of Bridal Club. This episode is actually very interesting and I absolutely love it because it's kind of like talking about breaking the rules a little bit. And I'm going to tell you a story. When I started pressing flowers, this is literally 10 years ago, I did not want to watch any YouTube videos. I didn't want anybody to teach me how to do it because I looked at the industry and I could not see what I wanted to see. And so why look at basically what other people were producing if it did not have the final look that I wanted to actually make, you know? And so I'm here with Leslie Ochs with Alice and Apricot, and her story is so different, like how she started getting in the industry, but honestly, it's like her superpower. So Leslie, thank you so much for being here today.
Of course.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too.
So let's talk about how your career started in healthcare and how it transitioned to being one of the best wedding planners in the industry.
Oh my gosh, that's so kind to say.
No, it's true. It's true.
Well, yeah. So I actually, started in healthcare and then moved to events, which to most people probably seems absurd. But really, it wasn't like that crazy of a shift as it seems on paper. I grew up around creatives. My mom and my dad were artists, and my grandmother, and it was always a family affair producing art. And so I feel like from like a young age, I was learning color theory and how to work with different mediums and learning to paint and draw and all the different things that you can do in the art world. And so I was definitely exposed growing up. And then from that, I got into healthcare because my grandmother was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And she was actually really close with me. That's actually what my company's named after, is my grandma.
I was like literally going to ask you too.
Yeah, her name was Alice.
Oh my God, I love that.
And so because of that, I kind of got interested in the field. I decided to go into oncology and went to school for that.
Wow.
I started in set design for theater, which is, I know, crazy. But I finished school, moved to Dallas to work for Texas Oncology, and while I was at the cancer center, was throwing events for them, doing events on the side. One of my favorite things was transforming like the hallways of the cancer center for the patients into different themes to try to just make it a little more fun for them to come to something they do not want to be at all. And it wasn't until I had my first baby that I actually decided to pull the trigger, go full time with events, and leave medicine behind.
So when you had a baby, what exactly led you to say, I'm going to leave my career and do something different?
Yeah. So, well, two things. One was I worked in the radiation side of oncology. So there is obviously a lot of exposure to radiation. And it was something that we talked about as a family of like long term if that's something that I wanted to continue to do. And then 2, we were trying to make sure that we were 100% financially stable before I just dropped my, day job that was bringing us obviously a salary that we could count on to start something that was obviously unsure of what it would become or how far I could make it go. And so we wanted to make sure that we were making a wise decision for our family before I did that. And that was finally a time where me and my husband both came to the conclusion that, hey, this is it. If I want to do it, this is the time to do it.
Wow. I love that. You're a working mom, and I really want to ask you a bunch of questions later in the interview because selfishly, I want to know how you're doing it all. I mean, just last night, you and I were texting super late, you know, and then you were like, yeah, I'm going to wake up this morning at 6 a.m. and I'm going to be here. I'm like, and you have kids, how are you doing it all? So we'll definitely save those questions for the very last because I feel like a lot of our listeners, which by the way, are brides, some people are not even engaged, some people are actually trying to get into the wedding industry, and some people are in the wedding industry. Totally. So I think like this specific question is going to be super helpful for every single person. But before we dive in on that, I definitely want to talk to you about Alice and Apricot. So now we know your grandmother's name is Alice.
Yes.
So what about Apricot?
Okay, so this is funny. Apricot. Actually, it's kind of like tomato, everybody says.
Okay, well, that's good.
Same thing. So it's embarrassing to say, but Alice's grandma and Apricot, I just picked a fruit with the letter A. Oh. So there's no true crazy significance to an apricot. I just picked a fruit with the letter A, guys.
Hey, I love it. Macy I think it was my first guest. Macy. Julian with Social Llama. She was my first guest because she was my wedding planner. She's amazing.
I adore her.
I know. And she obviously dresses the part just like you do.
Oh my gosh, she's so fun. I wish I could live up to her. I mean, her outfits are amazing.
Same with you.
You're too nice.
But Macy, I asked her like, why Social Llama? She's like, because I didn't want my name on it. Like I wanted to be something very different because whenever you see a llama, you basically stare at the llama and appreciate that creature, whether you like it or not.
So true.
And I'm like, oh my God, that is genius. that is
so true.
A huge reflection of who Macy is. Too.
Yeah. Oh, it really is.
Yeah. I love it. So back to the cancer center and moving to weddings. I feel like because you took care of patients so well, I feel like that possibly helped you understand people a lot more with a very different perspective and somebody who didn't have that experience. Yeah.
So 2 things I would say. So when someone is undergoing cancer treatment, it is a very hard time in their life, but also a big time in their life too. And I feel like the intentionality that we were able to have being caregivers allowed us the opportunity to be, their biggest cheerleader, their biggest advocate, care for them as well as for their family, because it's not always just hard on the patient, it's hard on their families as they're going through this. I mean, we had moms that had kids, we had, a variety of patients, and it wasn't just about caring for the patient, it was caring for everyone. And so I think now in weddings, it's the same thing. The bride and groom are not just my client. We look at everything as, the families, the grandparents, the wedding party. We want to look at everybody and have all of them feel just really cared for and loved and served, like during their time of planning as well as on that wedding day. And so I think just from one to the other, just seeing how like intentionality can make a difference and just how we care for others.
Yeah. And you specifically said that is your superpower. I agree. I agree. Yeah. I mean, it's just very different. And again, like your story is like nobody else's, and you bring a different perspective. Like you were not taught how to follow the rules. You made your own rules.
Yeah, for sure. I would say that is probably how it all kind of started for me, and how I kind of developed our brand is that I didn't know the rules of event planning. I wasn't taught by a book. I wasn't taught by somebody that already had an established process of how you should or should not do things. I really just saw it as an open-ended opportunity for me to create things that were really beautiful. And so where some people saw constraints or restrictions or even boundaries, I just saw like limitless opportunities to do really fun and creative things. And so I think it did give me the advantage because I got ambitious and wanted to try things that were never seen before, and using my medical background, which is that analytical thinking of execution, like being detail oriented, and just even the physics side of my degree allowed me to not only think creatively like I already had been, but now I can execute it and know that I can do it well.
Yeah. I love it. So truly your superpower.
Maybe.
No, you know it is. I mean, let's just say it the way
Absolutely.
it is. I mean, at the end of the day, in any industry, like the top of the top, they broke their rules. They made their own rules. I mean, truly, that's how it is. They didn't follow as like a book, as you said. They didn't follow the rules, and they just made their own. And obviously, look where they are. For those that may not be familiar with your Instagram, for instance, and obviously your business, I mean, you truly make some of my favorite weddings.
Thank
every
you.
single time that you create something is so different.
Thank you.
You've never seen it anywhere else. Yesterday, I think I told you this, but yesterday I was actually at Avant Garden taking a floral class, and I met somebody who was a guest at one of your weddings. And this was just randomly, by the way. She had no idea that I was going to see you today. And she was referencing to this wedding as her friend Olivia, who got married.
Yeah.
And we had the opportunity to preserve Olivia's flowers, the calla lilies, in a circle. That video, by the way, of her unboxing went viral on TikTok. Yes.
So good.
This is like 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And like up to now, we still have brides asking for that specific look.
I love that.
Yeah, I know. But again, going back to Taylor saying like, oh my God, her wedding was this. I'm like, this is exactly what Leslie needs to understand. Like people, guests, of course the bride, of course the family, but even guests remember their wedding so vividly and talk about it like years later.
I love that. I think that is our goal specifically at Alice and Apricot, is that it is an experience for your guests.
Yes.
Like the second they walk in, throughout the night, the momentum is continuously building till the second they leave. And so it is an experience, and every little detail is intentional so that those guests just continuously feel delighted. And so it's fun to hear it from the other side too, because obviously we want it to be everything our client, has expected and envisioned for their day. But it's really cool to see when a guest is delighted to the same extent.
Yeah. And again, years later, just talking about it casually, not knowing that we were going to have this conversation today, I was like, oh my God, I need to tell her this. So you do fully custom weddings, like from planning and executing to project management to design, paper goods, and literally all the things. If somebody goes to your Instagram and sees your weddings and they're like, okay, I would definitely want to work with her, guide me through what the journey process is like.
Yeah. So we are a full planning and design firm. So we specifically specialize in truly just like a unique, one-of-a-kind of experience for our clients. And so because of that, I fully have my hand in every single ounce of the design process. We are structured where we have multiple people working on your event at the same time, and each of us kind of play a different role. But we start our process with just a budget and expectation meeting where we sit down with our clients and kind of give them a large picture view of what they can expect to spend based off their preferences. Because obviously, your preferences may be different than someone else's preferences because flowers are important to you and someone else it's entertainment or food. And so in order for me to counsel you and advise you best to my ability is to truly understand those preferences and what you really are wanting. It's not a one size fits all. We tailor our process to every client because every client likes to be served differently. And so that process is probably the same across the board where we start, and that allows me the opportunity to really get to know the client and understand them. So then as we continue to go, I'm able to tailor that process. We then go into what I like to call like a conceptual design meeting. The conceptual design meeting is when we look at around 10 to 12 design concepts that may be based off season, location that you're getting married, pictures you've shown me, a variety of things. It's kind of like mood boards. And then we mix and match and collaborate between them until I completely understand the direction that we want to move forward for your event. A lot of the time a client will be like, I really want a traditional timeless event. And I'm like, oh, great. I love it. And then they show me a picture. I'm like, that is not what I would have called traditional. But I'm like, this is why it's helpful. If I can put it in picture form, I can actually ensure that what they're saying is what I'm also picturing. And so this way I'm able to ensure that it's exactly what they want. After that, we move to that detailed design. And the detailed design process is obviously my favorite part because that's when I get to be the most creative. And we design every square inch of their event. Yeah. And so I do renderings of everything. I'll do CAD drawings of, custom pieces. Oh my gosh. We want to make sure that everything is down to the small little details because those are the things that matter. And that's what makes all those big moments feel even bigger. And so we do all that and then present it to the client for them to see before we start out that quoting process.
I love that. When you see your weddings, I mentioned this earlier, but no two weddings look the exact same. And I love that so much about it, especially knowing, because I'm in the industry, how much it goes into doing what you do, because you're like literally rendering things that don't exist. And you make it happen. I know Macy has done specific things for you that I'm like, how did she even come up with something? If you cannot find it, you just make it.
That's right.
Tell me more about that so our audience can understand what we're talking about.
Yeah. So one of my favorite things that we have done, actually working with Macy as well, we had a client that was a professional baseball player and he was sponsored by Whataburger.
Yes.
And so his PR manager had reached out to me and said Whataburger would love to be a part of the wedding and they would like to do, pass out taquitos or, breakfast sandwiches at the wedding. And I was like, I don't really picture a table with Whataburger, with these taquitos at this luxury wedding. I was like, but are they open to having a meeting with me to reinvent and recreate what they're wanting to produce? I knew that he was an ambassador for the brand. So I knew part of that was for them advertisement and they wanted it to be something that was also beneficial to them. And so that helped me also expand my vision so that it could be beneficial to one client, which is my bride and groom, and then also to Whataburger.
Yeah.
And so I met with their CEO and their marketing directing team, and I had renderings of my idea, which was to build an actual Whataburger inside the hotel. I was like, hey, I am not looking to put a table out, but I would love to do this.
Wow.
And I was like, I think we could market it as Whittaburger, which was the client's last name.
What?
Yeah. And I was like, and what we can do is we want to keep it as true to Whataburger's brand as possible. I want them to walk in and feel like they're in a Whataburger. And I was like, I've gone to the restaurants. I've looked at the small details. I want it to be the exact napkin holders that are there.
Oh my God.
I want the wallpaper to be the same branding. I had all of it kind of ready for them to see so they couldn't say no. And they were like, let's do it. And so Whataburger got on board and actually came in behind us and we built a Whataburger while guests were eating dinner. So guests were on this other side of the wall and we were flipping the ceremony space and we built an actual Whataburger in under an hour.
What?
So yeah. Yeah.
That's insane.
It was crazy. Probably one of the craziest ideas I've ever had. But Macy, alongside Macy, we were able to execute it really well and it was really fun to see it come to life.
I'm so glad that we had this conversation about this specifically because we obviously didn't have a question for it. But I remember seeing, it went viral, obviously.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing all the socials, right? And I did not know the backstory of it.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't. People were like, how did y'all not get copyright things?
Yeah.
And they didn't realize that Whataburger was part of it. And so their CEO was there behind the Whataburger passing out the food with us. And then my staff was actually the Whataburger employees. So I made all my girls trusted Whataburger shirts that were behind the counter.
That is awesome.
But I just think it's this is a great example of how we limit ourselves and we're like, oh, they said that they could do a table, great, but why not ask for more? What's the worst they could say is no?
Exactly. This is why people hire you.
Yeah.
I love it. Hey, oh my God, just super random, but in my home city, which is Tampico in Mexico, there was a Whataburger that was not a Whataburger. I know. Isn't
Wait,
that why? I know.
What do you mean?
Yeah, there was a Whataburger and we all thought it was a Whataburger. And then years later, we discovered that it was a fake Whataburger.
What?
I know. So the fact that you were able, isn't that crazy? I swear to God, you can Google it.
Yeah. Okay, wait, I'm going to.
But the fact that you were able to talk to the CEO and marketing director and like do that, or the VP of marketing and do that inside of a wedding, it's like mind-boggling.
It was really cool to work with like that large of a company and then like just kind of create with them, because I was going back and forth in proofs with their like director team, because I'm like, actually, like I want it to be this.
Wow.
Like I was kind of being a control freak about it, because I'm like, I have a vision and it needs to be this.
I love it so much. Again, from healthcare. Are you kidding me?
I know.
I love it. Can we also talk about the wedding that you did at the Bush Library?
Yes.
Please.
Yes. Yeah. So that's another one of my favorites. So we just did the first ever wedding like that at the George W. Bush Library. It was the first time they've ever shut down the library for an event.
You should be very proud, by the way.
Which I truly is probably one of my proudest moments of my career to pull it off, because this client had interviewed with so many planners and they all told her that it was impossible, because what she wanted was a luxury wedding, but they usually only have a 3-hour window of setup at the Bush Library. And so when she inquired with me, I didn't know that we were going to get him to shut it down. And so we were talking and I was like, wait, people told you no? And I was like, they're saying it's not possible? I was like, let's do it. I was like, it's totally possible. Challenge accepted. And I see my like girls in the background shaking their heads like, oh gosh, what is she doing? And I was like, guys, we're going to pull off the Super Bowl halftime show, but a wedding. I was like, we're going to frame it all outside. We're going to set it up and then we're just going to bring it in. We only got 3 hours and we're going to make it work.
Did you sleep that night, by the way?
I definitely did not sleep.
I didn't think so.
No, but so we didn't know at that time that we actually were going to have more time to actually set up. But the fact that I was willing to try and be like, hey, no, it's possible. I can make it happen. They went with us. And then lots of things came into play, and then the library ended up getting shut down. But my favorite part of that design was that, so George W. Bush is an oil painter, and our clients love the Bushes, and that's part of the reason they were wanting to get married there. And I love to incorporate like little Easter eggs throughout our weddings. And so there was a lot of things that were built around oil paintings. And so when you first walked in, there was a seating chart that was an oil painting of a tree, which was similarly styled as the art style that Bush paints in. And as you grabbed your escort cards off of the seating chart, the tree like was the same, but it went from day to sunset. Okay, so the painting changed. And then when you moved into the tent, it was that same painting at night. So you're like going just like that through your event. You're going from day to sunset to night. And then the tent's like whole vision was I wanted them to be fully immersed in the painting. And so I wanted every guest to walk in and feel like they're walking through the frame and they're going into that painting. And so I tag teamed with one of my close friends, Ileana, who's a muralist locally here in Dallas. And I was like, here's what I want to do. It's going to seem crazy, but I want to turn the whole tent into a painting. And I was like, so I need you to do a mural, but like of the whole tent. And so we did just that. And we did, the whole tent was like the ceiling, the walls, everything was the painting. And then she came in that night and they added back in the texture over the vinyl walls because I wanted it to feel like the authenticity of an oil painting. It's by far probably one of my favorite designs I've ever done.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was
Look
really
at you.
cool.
By the way, cool. I love what you're wearing. I mean, again, if you're watching, this is like a testament of what she does, who she is. I love branding, by the way. And so like me, on the other hand, I always wear black, but it goes with my branding. But you look good
in black, so.
Well, I mean, I'm technically a fall instead of a winter.
Oh,
do you
the
know
color
anything?
theory thing?
Yes.
I actually don't know that, but I do feel like I'm in the red tones because I like do look better in red tones, but I've never done the color theory.
Yeah,
test.
it's worth it. You should 100% do it.
Yeah.
In fact, we actually had a guest that spoke about it. You should watch that episode.
Okay, I'm going to.
Yeah. So anyways, so black is like not necessarily in my color season, but it's my branding. So I wear it. I love it. But same with you, right? Like, I mean, you're like obviously like the brand. So you are dressed as is. I love that. I was I was gonna ask you about like standing out in a competitive luxury wedding business, but I mean, do we even have to speak about that since you literally gave the most crazy examples ever? I just love that so much.
Oh my gosh.
So if for a couple working with you or who wants to work with you, what do you want the couple and the family to remember looking back at their wedding?
Yeah. So I actually pray about this a lot. I want to, this is something that like I think about, not even just like in regards to my design, but just as our brand, like specifically as a whole. So for the clients, for vendors, for whatever it is. And I think it's just, I want every person that like talks to anybody on our team to just feel a distinct level of care and intentionality and just being really loved and valued. I don't want it to feel ingenuous or transactional or anything along those lines, which I think is easy to do when you're doing high volume in any career. And so I think because I'm fortunate enough that everyone in my team, in my office, we all have a common denominator, and it's our love for Jesus. And I think that overflows out in us in the way that we are able to serve and love our clients. And whether they know what the source of that is, I hope that they would see that there's a distinct difference about our team because of the way that we're caring for them and their family. And so for me, that means way more than, any publication or award that we could be given. I want it to be something that a family truly just feels valued. And I think that starts with just, whether it's the details of their design being extremely intentional, or the way that we just care for them on a wedding day, or maybe I pick up my phone at a time of need that is not required of me, but I do it because I care. I want them to think, man, wow, they didn't really have to do that, but they've exceeded my expectations tenfold. And I truly believe that they just cared deeply about us. And so that for me is the heart and soul behind our brand, and something that I hope that all of us working at A&A strive to do when we're, talking and doing all the things for our teams.
Yeah, that is beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And you can tell just in how you, like, I do obviously follow you closely, and on stories, I can see when you're talking to a camera on like how passionate you are and how you are so genuine and you genuinely want people to be happy. I just love that so much about you.
Thank you. Yeah, we do. We have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know. Which, by the way, going back to the library one, I really want to get some B-roll of like how it started, like with nothing, and then how the night progressed, and then how you like wrapped up.
Oh yeah,
because it was so cool to see.
We'll get Kendall on that. I mean, it is really fun to see how it started and where we ended.
Yeah, I know, it's super fun. Hey, for somebody who wants to be in this industry and are hesitant right now because they come from a background that is not necessarily, creative, or something like you in healthcare, or something like me that was like in business, like what would you tell them?
Yeah, I would say comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah, I love saying that too.
I say that often. I think we all struggle because of social media to compare ourselves to other people's highlight reels, or to, what their path may be. And I think it limits us. It makes us scared to try something new because we're fearful that we'll fail because of just comparing ourselves to others. And so I think the second that we stop doing that, we're able to do things that we're really good at with confidence. And so I would say stop worrying about other people and just be confident in who you are and what you can give others, and focus less on, I always say to our girls, I'm like, focus less on us and focus more on serving. So let's focus more on just serving others, and then the rest will come together. And I'm like, celebrate the people around you. Like, I mean, there's more than enough room at the table for people that are good at the same thing that you are. And so I think if we work in a mindset of that, and if someone else does too, I think you can be successful in this career. I think there's a lot of people that have these skills and the traits necessary to do a lot of things really well. And I think people just choose not to act out in them. And that's the only reason they haven't switched careers or done other things. But I am a firm believer, half of the girls on my team didn't necessarily come from the industry, but when I was interviewing, I saw certain things in them that were valuable for my brand. And whether that was their personality or some other form of experience they had, or, you know, they're driven or whatever it may be, I saw those things and I was like, you are what I need. Like, you are exactly what I need for a hole or something that is missing in my current brand. And I'm like, if you have a good leader and someone that can teach them, if you have someone that is teachable, the sky's the limit. So I would say don't limit yourself.
I love that.
Take the leap of faith.
Yes. So a couple of things. Going back to what you said about comparison is a thief of joy. I love saying that, and I say it constantly, especially here on the podcast. I literally have a podcast episode, a solo episode that is going to be talking about that exclusively, and how you can mute people on Instagram. Honestly, like, I think whenever you're doing your market research, you know, once a month, once every quarter, whatever, it's good to see what's out there and what other people are doing with that limitation. Everything else, honestly, like, if it's not bringing you joy, or if it's truly like impairing you from actually creating, just mute them. You don't have to block them. You don't have to remove them. Just mute them, you know?
I think sometimes it actually can limit your creativity.
Oh, no, 100%.
I'm like, because like, I think that's the problem with Pinterest and all these other things is people are looking at it and then they like are putting their vision within a box.
Yes.
And so sometimes I don't think it's helpful to look at other people's pages, even if their work is beautiful and I want to admire it, because it does make your brain go down this narrow path of what is possible or what is capable or what a certain color palette should look like. So I love that. Muting it sounds like a great idea.
Girl, you should do it. It's the best thing that I did for myself, because honestly, the minute I did that, I was like literally concentrating in my brand, on my brand, my clients. How can I actually continue to elevate the brand and the customer experience, as opposed to looking at others for inspiration?
100%.
You know. And then the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is the team. The team is so important, and I'm so glad you mentioned this. Obviously, we have a team of 9-10 people here, and culture is something that is so hard to teach. Oftentimes you cannot. So a good mesh between you and obviously your team members is so crucial. Whereas skill set you can teach, you know,
1,000%.
Right? I agree.
1,000%.
Yes.
My team is the heartbeat behind our brand. I truly could not do it without any of them. They are a gift, and they are all individually so talented. And I like to say that we're kind of a well-oiled machine. I hired in my weak spots, if I'm honest.
Yes.
I'm like, no one person can do any job well, even if we're capable of or have the skill sets. And so I think it is important to hire people that are complementary to your like strengths.
Agreed.
And that's exactly what I did. And so my project managers, which are Haley, Libby, and Sophia, are probably the most driven, talented, organized people that I could ever possibly have in my corner. And they are our executors. They work side by side with me. And they are like the yin to my yang. I am extremely grateful to have them on my team. And then we have our day of girls that we have trained over time. And I can say right now that I could not be there on a wedding day and they would perform at the same level of excellence as if I was there. And I think that is important as a leader, that your team shouldn't drown if you're not present. They should be just as well acquainted with your event and with your client, that your client can feel still confident even if I'm not present. And I think we've done a really good job of developing those relationships, developing their skills and their confidence so that they can execute and perform at the same level of expectation that I would have. And then we even have, I would say, Peanut. We call her Peanut, and that's actually her name. We call her we jokingly call her our Walmart greeter. On a wedding day, she's more than that. She is like a warm hug in a human form. But literally her only job on a wedding day is to make everyone feel good.
Wow.
Like she is literal vibes. Like, and so she will, like, her favorite part of it is like grandmas who like usually get forgotten on a wedding day because there's so much going on and there's chaos. She'll sit down and be like, so tell me how you and your husband met.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to hear about your wedding. Like, you know, like all of those small little things to just make them feel very loved. She'll make sure that people are fed. She's making sure that someone, you know, who's maybe breastfeeding has their milk that she can go take to theirs. She's doing all the little things that could be just like a nuisance on the wedding day to just make everyone feel like super loved, well, and served. And so she's probably one of my secret weapons that I like to say. But our clients absolutely adore her. And she's meeting these needs that people didn't even know they had until they feel them. And so I think our team as a whole is what makes us who we are.
That's so awesome. I mean, the fact that you hire somebody to do that specifically, who does that? Yeah. You, obviously. Wow. I'm so glad we had this type of conversation because, again, obviously for vendors who are listening and, you know, look up to you, oh my gosh, they're learning so much. But for other brides who are got engaged just now, you know, and looking for a planner, like there's so much that goes behind the scenes that you don't see. And this conversation has been so awesome. Yeah. Before I let you go, I want to talk to you going back to a working mother because I don't know how you do it all. As I said, sometimes I'm like, did she even sleep? What is happening? I don't. And then no, I'm just kidding. I'm like, how can I do that? I oh my gosh. I often tell my husband, like, I've been sleeping 6 hours for I don't even know how long, and I need 8. I need a full 8, and I just don't get them. And he's like, "Just sleep faster." I'm like, "I can't. I can, but I shouldn't." So, how do you do it all?
I don't do it all. I try to do it all. I have made a huge effort in the fact of just balancing the two. I don't think it's easy, and I don't think there's one way to do it well. I've found what works for me, and I think what that is I want to do my job really well, but I also want to be present for my children and my family. And so what that looks like is they're very much integrated into my work life. Yeah. My kids come up to the office frequently. I mean, my 4-year-old son still thinks he's going to marry one of the girls that works for me. And he's in love with them. He thinks they're the best aunties on this planet. And some of those girls have ran up to the school to pick up my kids when I'm still in a meeting with one of our clients. I mean, it takes a village to raise a child. Yeah. And I'm thankful I have a really good village around me, and they are doing stuff that they didn't sign up for, but they want to do because we are a family, and there's things that I'm going to do for them that, you know, aren't part of my job, you know, description, but we care for each other. And so we show up for each other. But as for like weekends and stuff like that, it is hard. I mean, I am gone a lot of weekends. And what I try to do is the weeks that I do have weddings, I try to be really present during the week so that my kids feel loved and cared for. But most importantly, I don't miss the big moments. And so I'm, you know, on the PTA board, I'm, you know, going to all the sporting events. I mean, I've literally on a wedding day walked the bride down the aisle, got in my car, went to a dance recital, watched her perform, get back in the car, go back to the wedding, and then keep going, and then go back to the recital. Like I've gone back and forth, like on the wedding day. And my client knew, and then so did my girls know, and they made it happen. They allowed me to do it.
That movie 27 Dresses or something where she's like going
I literally feel like that sometimes. That's why. Or I'll be, and most of our clients know my kids. And so we have one client, Stacy, she's my favorite. And the mom, and this is our second. It's actually Olivia's mother-in-law.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you hired us actually.
Yeah, so we're now doing her daughter's wedding.
Yes, so you reached out. We're gonna do hers too. I'm so excited.
Okay, so they, she knows my children very well, and like during Mardi Gras, she sent like them a king's cake in the mail. So like our clients know how much family means to me, and they know that it's a priority. And I feel like because it's something I'm continuously talking about, they are respectful of that, and they know that there is boundaries in place so that I can be there and be present for my kids. And I don't think, you know, it's an unrealistic expectation for us to do that.
Yeah, I said selfishly because right now I'm not planning on getting pregnant anytime soon. However, I'm always like, I don't think this is the right time. I don't think next week,
it's
next
never
year
a right time.
Because I'm like growing my business, this and that. But seeing you do it, I'm like, I want to be like her. Like,
you can for sure do it.
Okay, good.
I mean, I strap that baby onto me, like going to meetings. When they're a newborn, everybody loves a newborn. And so like you can just strap them to you. I'm like, I have some of my favorite videos on a wedding day, actually the George Bush one. I gave my children a room reveal. So Kendall actually mic'd them up, and we like got them in the parking lot so that they could go see everything, because it was a huge part of my career that I was really proud of. And I was like, bring the kids up here. I want them to see it. And so watching those videos were some of my favorite, because I want my kids to see me being an entrepreneur and working hard and doing those things, and see that, hey, you don't have to give up the thought of having a family and in order to be, you know, whatever your dream may be. I want them to know that both are possible. Yeah. And so I think I'm a better mom because I do work.
Yeah, I love that. And thank you for being such an inspiration to me and to so many that you don't even know that you're touching that way.
Of course.
How can people find you, connect with you, and hire you to be their planner? I mean, they must.
Yeah. So you can go to our website. It's www.AllisonApricot.com. And then on our contact page, we have an inquiry form. So if you fill that out, we will reach out to you within 24 hours to set up a call to get to know you a little bit better.
Awesome. Leslie, thank you so much for this.
Of course. Thanks for having us.
Of course.